Hello everybody, my name is Colton Iverson writing on YouTube, Pen and Grimoire on Instagram, and Colton Iverson 1 on Twitter. I'm here today with Mark Wahlbeck. He is a very successful Kickstarter, writer of over 1 million words, lots and lots of book recommendations, and just all around pretty talented person. Mark, could you give yourself an introduction?
Yeah, sounds good. 1 million words. 1 million words makes it sound cool. I'm a former tech CEO turned writer, turned aspiring writer, and I've got 7 kids, and that's what I do all days. Work with the kids and write. So that's who I am, where I am, at least in the 5-second recap.
There you go. Well, I mean, I'm sure your life is pretty hectic. So again, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. So one of my first questions for you, because you seem to have such a wide range of the things that you write, that you create. So what inspires your stories?
Man, I have so many stories since childhood that I've just been wanting to write and get out there. What I did a couple of years ago when I first started taking this seriously was I would start posting, stories 5 days a week on Instagram. Mm-hmm. These were 60-second stories. And what I would do is I'd go find random images on a stock, photo website. And I would literally scroll through images until I found one that inspired me with whatever random thought that was. And then I would write a 60-second story and narrate it, and got some video editing help from a friend who puts those together for me. And so a lot of cool ideas actually came from that. I created a writing course a few months ago, and that's one of the things I teach in that course. If you're looking for some inspiration, is write little stories, 60-second stories about things that might interest you, and you'd be surprised what happens. In fact, one of them did so well in terms of reception. I think it got like 100,000 views, and the idea intrigued me and intrigued everyone else. And so I actually turned that into a full book, which I finished a few months ago. It's going to go into the second draft soon here. But things spring from that. Actually, not only that, not only has it created a second book, but it's created an entire world of books that are in that realm now, which I have another story I'm prepared to write. So that's how I got some of the inspiration for stories. But there's a lot of authors who they have to write that thing that's inside of them. It's part of them. It's an emotional piece of their life. I'm not that guy. I just like stories. That's why I've always played single player games for the most part in my life. It's just I like the stories. And so for me, the next story is the coolest next best thing. And it doesn't take a lot to excite me about a story. And so I can take anything and write a story about it because everything's so intriguing. So I've got lots of ideas. Like a sentence could turn into a book. For me, at least, not for other authors, but for me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, there are some very popular authors. I'm not going to say any names, not calling anybody out, but that they struggle to write. But the fact that I saw you posted that you wrote over 100,000 words in 3 months, that's pretty impressive. That's a lot of work right there. How do you have the motivation and I guess the talent to write every single day and to keep at it?
It's hard and depressing too. So I'm a patient person, but I'm not that patient. I come from a world of marketing and digital things and courses, and where I can build something and then I can sell it. With a book, it's a lot harder because what you're working on, like a perfect example, in my tech company before, I had an idea for a product I wanted to sell. Yeah. So I created, over the course of 2 days, a landing page for it, advertisements, marketing. And within 3 days, this page had generated, $50,000. And I did that in 3 days. Yeah. Right. And so now we come to writing and books, and it's like, are you ready to lose the next 3 to 6 months of your life just to get to draft 1? And then this book you've already read so many times, you have to go back and do a second draft. And then, it goes off to some beta readers, editing, and, this becomes a very involved process. And at that point, you're like sick of the product. You're sick of the book. You don't even want to look at it again. So, so that's a real struggle for me. So what I do to combat that is I write frequently shorter things. Like I'm on social media, writing things there as well. And it helps me to get the gratification of publishing, because if you go too long without publishing, you're going to feel like it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's one way I stay motivated. The other way I stay motivated is by doing crazy things like launching Kickstarters, where people pay you in advance, and now you're forced to deliver no matter what, where you could get sued. And I don't recommend that for everybody, but for me, I'm forced to deliver.
Yep.
And I work from home, and so that works out really well for me as well too. But honestly, writing and publishing every day really helps me in that process. Interesting.
So those 60-second stories, how many words were those usually?
I'd say it's a science. 140 words. Give or take, depending on the speed and the pacing of the voice and things like that. But 140 words will get you a 60-second story.
I mean, and you could probably write that, in like 10, 15, 30 minutes?
Yeah. So for a while, my process was I would wake up like at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I would just go right to that, and 10 minutes. So I might spend 5 minutes looking through images. And as soon as some idea came to my mind, then like I remember one of them was like it was a picture of a woman like kind of dressed in black and had these red eyes, and just this idea in my mind, like the woman in black came to my mind, and then I envisioned a crazy person having a conversation with a psychiatrist, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to write a short dialogue between a psychiatrist and a crazy person about this terror he's seeing, and see if I can invoke an emotion from the reader. So I did it, and I wrote the whole thing like in 10 minutes, recorded it in just a couple minutes, and that was it. And I really enjoyed it. It was like a mini story. In fact, I want to go back to doing these because I've been out of them for a few weeks, months.
Yeah. No, I mean, that goes to a good question about your voice acting. When I listened to The Last Hacker, because I'm an audiobook listener most of the time. I've been getting more into actual physical reading, but audiobooks are what I would love to listen to. I didn't realize that you were the voice actor just doing the whole book, and I thought that was really impressive that you kickstarted it, you voiced it, and you did everything on your own. How did you get so good at voice acting? How did you get so good at learning all those intricacies that you need?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll caveat that was like my second book I narrated.
Okay.
And it's I've learned a lot actually since then. It's not my best work by any means. And since then I have actually taken a voice acting program for audiobook narrators by Scott Brick.
Oh.
Do you know who Scott Brick is?
I have not heard of him, no.
He's like the most famous voice narrator out there. He did like The Passage,
okay.
and like 1,000 other books, 10,000 other books, whatever. Anyway, he teaches a course on it. So I learned a ton since then, which has helped a lot. Yeah. But since I was a kid, I've been doing I was in drama, voice, I do cartoon characters and stuff. And I got kids, and I had this weird stint 4 years ago, before I started writing books, where I actually started building puppets, and building them from scratch and acting with puppets and stuff. So it's always a lot of that kind of stuff going on in my head and in my house. But I took it seriously with The Last Hacker, and you can see it a little bit here in my background. I've got a professional sound booth back here now. Yeah. And so I try to make it really professional. I did learn something really important, though, that is making me second guess doing my own books from here on out. And I was speaking with a New York Times bestselling author who's giving me advice. And one of the things they pointed out the disadvantage of doing your own audiobooks is you don't get to bring any other else's audience with you. So those voice actors like Travis Baldry and like Nick Podell and some of the other ones, Scott Brick and R.C. Bray, there are people who buy audiobooks by whoever's voicing them just because they like the voice. And I didn't realize that. And so I may not do my other books because I may just go pay $10,000 to $15,000 for a top tier person. Mm-hmm. And now I've got a whole new slew of readers for my books. And that's way more valuable to me than saving the few $1,000s to do it. I didn't do it to save money. Mm-hmm. I did it because I wanted to do it. But I'm rethinking it now a little bit because of that fact.
Yeah, no, that's smart. I mean, I listened to the Harry Dresden books with James Marsters, and I love his voice. I love listening to him, and so yeah, if he does any other books, I mean, that's a really good point. Yeah. I would definitely listen to those. So that's an angle I didn't even think about.
I didn't think about it either.
Wow. Well, hey, I'm glad you're able to share this wisdom for all of us starting up. So that's some really good advice. Really good advice. So you've talked about all like the posts that you've done with these stories. What do you think is the key to building a social media presence where you can share all these things and grow that audience?
Yeah. So it's a hard thing. I'm still struggling with it a little bit. I think this morning I hit 19,300 followers on TikTok.
Okay.
And here, so the thing is, there's lots of ways of going about this. I do want to point out a mistake, something I think is a mistake that most authors actually do.
Okay.
And what they do for their social media is they're always talking about writing and their stresses and failures, and everyone posts a meme about, why are you on social media? You should be writing. And they're 99% of authors, literally, I can say 99% of authors are posting this stuff. And they're never stopping to ask themselves, who are you marketing to?
Yeah.
Because when you post these things, all you're marketing to is other writers who are complaining about their problems, and they're not going to buy your books. And so I knew that early on. Mm-hmm. So I have a rule for my social media, and I'm not an expert. I'm still growing this here, but my rule is everything I post should be designed to bring in people who would buy my books. And so some people have asked me, like, why do you talk about other people's books if you're an author? And it's because if I post about things I'm interested in, okay, the people who want to read my books are going to be interested in those things too. And then, of course, I do post about my books frequently. My book that's out, my other ones aren't published yet.
Yeah.
But everything I do, I try to do for that purpose. And it works. From TikTok alone, a couple posts went viral. If you do it enough, you're going to go viral. A couple posts, brought in over $3,000 in sales in on just Kindle Unlimited page reads of all things. That was just a prototype testing out Kindle Unlimited, and it brought in like $3,000 in sales for that, like in the course of a couple of weeks, from like 2 TikTok posts, right?
Yeah.
And so I would never get that if I'm making memes about writing, or actually making memes about not writing.
Yeah.
So that's the only advice that I would caution against is doing that, because your audience, there's a point if you're famous. There are some famous authors I follow who show what they're doing in their day, and they show their dog and all these things. And that's fine because they have a huge following already and people want to see into your life. For me, I'm a nobody, and I'm like growing an audience from scratch. And so I want to bring as many people in as possible. And so I'll make a post, like I did a post about, like even fan fiction, like I did an Alien fan, the movie Aliens, Alien fan fiction little clip, 60 seconds on TikTok. And it got quite a few views, like 80,000 plus views or more. And guess what? Everyone started following me. It has nothing to do with my book. Yeah. But you know what? My next book, Earth Forgotten, that's coming out in the near future, like these, 5,000 people who follow me based on that post, they're going to be really interested in seeing this new book. And so sometimes I also pick books and topics that are in my area that I think people will like, who are going to purchase my books as well too. But I'm struggling. I am struggling because I want to standard. My brain's like, I'm a marketer. I want to standardize this. I want a cookie cutter way to make posts because it works for some people, like Mr. Ballin. He's this guy who tells stories, creepy stories on TikTok and YouTube. He went from 0 followers to over 6 million in just a year and a half. And what he does is he just tells stories, true stories to the camera that are creepy.
Yeah.
I love telling stories. I tried that for fictional stories. It does not work.
Yeah.
Does not work. Like, people want the weird, messed up stuff, but they don't want fictional stuff. And so it's been really hard for me because all I want to do is tell stories. Mm-hmm. But on social media, it's like not the right medium for that. It's really struggles. So I have to do other things that I don't want to do, like skits and other junk. And some of those things work. Yeah. But anyway, I'm still figuring it out. The thing that works best for me personally, and then I'll end on this rant here, is what I call book trailers. Okay. Basically, it's like if I take a book or my own book and I try and summarize it in a very cool way and put really cool music on it, like what if the world ended? And then it's like 15 seconds long, has music, and then I take some pictures of the book. Those things, they'll get like 200,000 views sometimes, and I don't particularly. It's not my favorite thing to do, but it's working. So that's everything I know about social media as an author.
Well, hey, I mean, I think that's a lot of good information. Just the other day you posted about the reign of the Blade Masters, and I was like, what book is this? And you're like, oh, it's something I'm writing. I'm like, okay, that's something I would be interested in. Because with the art and everything, I thought it looked so cool, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. So I think you're onto something. I myself am a marketer as well. I don't think I have near the amount of experience as you do, but I also get like wanting that cookie cutter. How can I get the most posts for the most value? So I get it. It is hard.
Very hard.
Yeah. No, I'm still figuring out myself. I don't have much of a following at all. You have way more than me, but it's hard, and it's always changing too. Is the thing about any social media, digital marketing. It's always going.
Well, and Instagram used to do super well for me.
Yeah.
I'm actually losing Instagram, but I lose more Instagram followers than I gain, and
really?
It blows my like TikTok. And so the amount of sales and the amount of engagement and things that happen on TikTok are through the roof. Like TikTok is the platform to be if you're an author. Okay. Instagram is literally like losing the battle. And Zuckerberg, he posts about this in a meeting, like, we need to move to video. We're struggling. They're losing billions of dollars, and they still can't even figure out discovery algorithms to bring you more followers. Like, I had a Instagram post that got like a reel that got like 500,000 views. 500,000. It got me like 3 followers. 500,000 views got me 3 followers. Jeez. And now some of the engagement and messaging on Instagram is great, but Instagram has only been good for like influencers or people who are posting pictures. I post everything on Instagram that I do on TikTok, but myself and Gary Vee and everyone else who's in this space can tell you that the Instagram or TikTok is where it's at, and it surely is for me over Instagram. It completely changed in the last 2 years.
Okay, well, hey, anybody out there, figure out TikTok. I know that's what I need to do. I've been meaning to do it, but I'm kind of intimidated by it because I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But I guess I'll have to learn if I want to make it. So at least in that space. So, but hey, that's some really good advice. I really do appreciate that. It's I'll
give you some more context on that too. My tech company. So I hired a CEO. I'm just an advisor now. But okay, we've had an Instagram account. We have a whole social media team. It's taken us like 7 years to just finally break 100,000 followers on Instagram. Okay.
Gotcha.
7 years for 100,000 followers on Instagram for a business. Okay. We started TikTok 2 years ago.
Okay.
And have over 550,000 followers. And that TikTok generates like 30% of the company's income. And this is across the board for all mediums, authors, whatever, on TikTok. Like, it is the place to be.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to ask you for the right people to follow so I can learn the trends and figure it out. Because that's
Yeah.
insane. Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, that's a good discussion. That's a good discussion for another day. But
Yeah.
I know you're good. I love the information. It really is fantastic. But I have some more questions for you. So, okay. So you love sharing tons of stories about other books. R.A. Salvatore. I can't think. You've shared so many. You're sharing more anime and manga stuff right now. Why do you love sharing these stories from other authors? You kind of mentioned it earlier, but could you go deeper into that?
Yeah. So I really struggle. I really struggle to find books that I like.
Okay.
I really struggle. And so when I find good books that I really like, I want to share those things. Some people, they can read lots of books and they're like, yeah, this one was good, this one was better. Yeah. For me, the first 10 words can totally turn me off. Like if the first line in a book is about the sunset or, describing a room or about a woman in labor, like I'm going to throw that thing across the room, and that's kind of that's how my struggle with books. Like I really can't read through things unless they're really interesting to me. Yeah. And so when I find stuff, I just like posting about it. Mm-hmm. I will say, in full honesty, like I post about other books because people love those books and they can relate to them. Mm-hmm. If I had my way, all I would post every day on Instagram and TikTok would be stories, mini stories, like me actually telling stories. And the only reason I don't post those things is because they're not performing well. Yeah. And it's really frustrating for me. But, I guess it makes sense. People don't want to open up TikTok and read somebody's story. Like, and the reason why it works for people like Mr. Ballin is because his stories have a finish and an end, and it's about real life stuff, creepy stuff. Like, I get it. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's what I would do if I could do it. But, it's not working for me. That's all I can say.
Gotcha. I mean, that's okay. It's learning to play the game. I'm sure. How long were you part of that marketing company when you were actually like working in it? Yeah.
So it's actually it's a learn to code company, a boot camp where they train people how to become programmers, and I just did marketing for my company.
Gotcha.
What did you ask though?
Like how long were you in that business before you started doing your author full-time stuff?
So I started the tech company in 2015. And then I actually started writing my first book in 2019. I kind of scaled back the company a little bit and I just pumped out a book. I took like a sabbatical that year, was rethinking through the company, what it needed to be. And so I wrote my first book that year, just had lots of inspiration, went through it. And then I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to use this book and my marketing skills and toss together a Kickstarter and see what happens. And it did really well. Yeah. And I built the audience from scratch, completely from scratch, zero followers. Like I had been for about 6 months before I got to the Kickstarter. I had been posting on Instagram, but from scratch. I did create a landing page right out of the gate about this book that's coming out, and I created Facebook ads. I spent $1,500 in Facebook ads, and of course the campaign was like $23,000, I think, at the end.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of success. I think I got 500 or 800 people on my email list from those Facebook ad campaigns.
Wow.
And I had done math. Like, I know what kind of like click rates are, turnaround rates. This amount of people are going to join my list. 10% of them are likely going to buy. And I made sure my wording was correct on the landing page. This is a Kickstarter, so they knew what they were getting up front. So if they joined my list, it meant that they were serious. And so even before I started, I knew if I was going to be profitable or not.
Yeah.
And because the fact that people were joining the list, it told me the Kickstarter was going to work. In fact, I didn't even launch the Kickstarter until I had, I think it was like 300 people on that list where I knew that it was going to make some type of profit. And so I just reverse engineered it really to make sure it would be successful. And that's how I did my first get-go of all this stuff.
Man, I mean, that answers one of my questions, is how you did get that successful Kickstarter, because I've seen a lot of people, other than famous authors, doing Kickstarters for books, and they don't do too well.
Yeah.
But you've done 2 successful Kickstarters now, and so I mean the answer.
You have to have an audience.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time about Kickstarter. Should I do one? And I say, if you don't have an audience, and not just an audience, if you don't have audience on an email list, because TikTok and Instagram are great, but you don't know who these people are.
Yep.
When someone's on your email list, they have actually committed to you. They've entered something that's a piece of them, and they've committed to you to be part of something that you are doing. Yeah. On TikTok and Instagram, yeah, sure, some people would be like, I subscribe to you, so you should be grateful. But at the end of the day, they're clicking a button. They're not committing to anything. They can unsubscribe just as easy. So email list, if you have people on your email list, and of course they're on there through truthful means, like because you're an author and they're interested in your stuff, they will buy your stuff. And it's really a numbers game. And I'll even throw that out there, 10%, 10% of your list at the low end, they'll buy your stuff if they're on your email list. So if you just do the math from there, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, and if your product's not $1,000, 10% will buy your stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you. That is a lot of good information, I think, for anybody out there. Because I think Kickstarter, people might start trying it more in recent times, but build an audience first. Okay.
And they have been. I've seen some authors from like the 80s and 90s, like one lady who wrote books in the 90s and 2000s, like just raised like $1 million, and I don't even know who she is, and she's got this loyal following of people for all these years. And so Brandon Sanderson, like, obviously, like, lit the fire there with everybody. Yeah. I've been using Kickstarter since like 2012, so it's nothing new to me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where a lot of people don't think it's going to be successful, or they hear the horror stories of, oh, I paid so much money to get this really cool product, but it never got released. Yeah. It never actually happened because it couldn't have actually happened. But then there's obviously the really good success stories with Brandon Sanderson and his team. So
well, good luck to him in doing all that, because he just created an entire company that's going to require like 20 employees, and like, good luck. Like, if he didn't think he was busy before, he's going to be real busy now, because this stuff is an insane amount of work. He just created a new company, basically.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, if you follow any of his stuff, the way they talk about it and how much they're doing every single day, it's pretty insane. If you follow him, like, you'll understand. Yeah. So my last question, it's something that you mentioned a lot, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but how did you write over 1 million words? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. So it's really important to write every day. Mm-hmm. It's the hardest thing for authors to do, but it's incredibly important, especially for increasing your skills. If you're just getting out starting writing, you should just tell yourself that your work is good enough for you, but you're not amazing yet, because you won't be. Mm-hmm. But people will listen to it and they'll read it. But you need to get better. You need to get a lot better. And the only way to get better is to write more, but also to improve as well too. So obviously writing daily stories is something that helped me to increase there. But also, I read a lot of books on writing as well too, from like Stephen King, Ursula Le Guin. There's some others that I can't remember. Orson Scott Card. Yep. And I've taken his course. I have taken every master class on masterclass.com. James Patterson, Neil Gaiman, Margaret Atwood. There's another one. I've learned so much. I've listened to like probably 200 podcast episodes on independent publishing and writing and things. And so all of those things fuel the fire for getting better. So if you write every day and you try to improve every day, what ends up happening is you really start loving to write, like the words themselves. Like, it doesn't become as stressful anymore, and you can do really fun things. Like just yesterday, for instance, because I'm trying to test out my social media, I wrote a 3,000 word post-apocalyptic story, what would happen if the entire internet in the world shut down for 7 days? And I actually thought through the process, and actually the world would literally come to an end. So I wrote a whole story about that, and I did it for me. I did it for my social media, but it has nothing to do with my books or anything else. And the reason why I did it is because I wanted to tell that story. And so if you can maybe step out of the circle of, I have to write a book so it can be published so I can make money.
Yeah.
And I know not everyone is in that boat. People have crummy jobs sometimes and they're really eager to move over. But if you can just write, if you focus on getting better, you're going to be more passionate about what you're writing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you stay at your level, you're gonna be like, oh, I got to write this scene about this, and I got to write this scene. And then some of them you'll be excited about, but other ones you'll be like, okay, I got to do this. But if you really start having fun with your skill, it becomes much more enjoyable. And this is something I am learning right now. I actually mentioned so I've been chatting with the New York Times author. He accepted me into his little tiny writing club where he tears me apart every single week and all my problems in my writing and prose. And, he's a New York Times bestseller. He's got tons of books published. And I had already been doing that, getting better, but now it's like at a whole new level. And I'm loving writing even more because now I can take two people just in a conversation over something boring and monotonous, and I can have fun with it and play around with it. And so, long story short, to write a lot so you can love what you're doing and improve on it. And, those numbers will go by quick. And both James Patterson and Stephen King, they both said that, it takes about 1 million words for you to get good enough to get published by a traditional publisher.
Okay. Wow. That is a wonderful answer that I was just not even expecting. So thank you so much. That was really delightful. That was, I can tell how much passion you have for storytelling. And I love to see that, you've talked about some of the struggles of it, but I love to see your passion and the things that have helped you gain success. I mean, you're kind of living the dream, being able to be an author full time and being able to do that. So
let's be clear, that doesn't pay the bills.
Oh yeah, I know.
My company pays my bills. Yeah. So I'm still working on that. Yeah. So yeah. I'm full-time author, but not because my books pay all my bills.
Okay. With the caveat, you're still living kind of the dream there. So that's pretty amazing. But anyway, Mark, thank you so much. I love hearing from people who have a lot more experience than me, which is most people that I've interviewed. And so I truly enjoy talking to people who can share so much great information. So thank you so much.
I love I can talk about books all day long. Nobody ever wants to talk with me about writing a book. So
hey, you know what? I would love to in the future again, because it's just, books are amazing. So many great stories out there. So thank you so much. Is there anything you want to talk about, plug here at the end?
I mean, not really. I've got my book, The Last Hacker, which is a post-apocalyptic book. Second one, Last Hacker and the Rise of the Red Army, is coming out soon, just in final editing. Yep. But that's it. If you want to see what I'm doing in terms of author stuff, just follow me on TikTok, Mark Wahlbeck, or Mark Wahlbeck on Instagram. And I post a lot of stuff there.
Cool. Yeah, he posts a lot of great stuff. So check him out. All those links will be in the description below, everybody. So thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.